morning. Crazy markets as normal. We had a bit of a doji yesterday, but we had the FOMC minutes where basically the result is that all members wanted a hike, but only a few, in speech marks, wanted a 50 basis point hike. Okay, so that's yesterday's indecision candle. We've also got a little bit of a narrative, like a rhetoric coming out from Russia, Ukraine, where China are currently talking to Russia. And they're going to try and propose a peace deal because everyone wants a resolution to it. And assuming that it meets Putin's criteria and his requirements, then they're going to probably come back to the US and say, these are his terms and conditions, what do you think? And the US are going to probably go yes or no, probably likely no. And then it'll go back to Putin. And then, it'll just be like a negotiation. The trouble is that Putin wants NATO out of the countries like Moldova, Belarus. He probably won't mind Poland because NATO have been in Poland for some time, but recently in the last decade NATO have been pushing onto the surrounding countries around Russia, and so that's probably what Putin wants, is that them to leave and be less aggressive on the countries that are bordering Russia. However, that being said, if they do withdraw, then there's a possible scenario where Putin's going to take advantage and then take a bit of a liberty and then, show his strength on those particular countries. So their argument is that if he did it to Ukraine, then he could probably do it to Moldova and Belarus. Won't be Poland because there's too much hotspot political interest there. Poland, it can't be. He won't do Poland, but he might do the smaller countries, Moldova and Belarus. So it's a bit of a tricky one. So we could have very much a risk on pump where we have a negotiation on peace, which would be good, and then we could have a risk off dump where we don't have a resolution to the negotiation. China then going to arm Russia, and then we're going to have state-of-the-art equipment from the US, state-of-the-art equipment from China, and there's going to be a big battle over Ukraine, and it could get really ugly and messy. So there's lots of scary stuff going out there, but it has caused them to short, which is what we want. We don't want sideways nonsense on the sentiment. We want them to sell. We want them to buy. We don't want them to go sideways. And we did go sideways for some time, and so we had to have a little break of that sentiment, and we certainly did. We really fell. And currently we're making a buy here on the crossover. So, we can look at things in a vacuum, but we have to remember there's all this fundamental stuff going on as well. We've got the Fed policy, and we've got, war, basically. And Rishi Sunak was saying it's a global war. So, I don't know, but it's a little bit scary out there, so you've got to be careful. But sentimentally, we made a buy on the US 30. Here we made the sell. We can see how we fell, and so them selling it should push price higher. And I think everyone wants a resolution to the Ukraine thing now. It's been going on for a year. It's been going on too long. Too many people have died. It's no good. Just choppy DAX, so there's not really much to be said there. They went long, so we fell, and then they shorted, so we came up. They might go long again. If we do, then we'll fall. So be very careful with this one. We're very choppy. You see how we're within a range. And you probably might want to wait for a break of that range, but we're a long way away, or a break of that low. Okay, and gold, they are going long. So if we get a crossover, then we're probably going to have a resistance zone here, where 1833 is going to be resistance, 1829 area. You don't really want them to be buying if you're buying, because it will cause price to fall. So euro, we made a buy. Or we might cross 50% as well into static buy. So yeah, I'd probably not recommend entering. We got to look at our bubble as well. Our average bubble is not so good for the euro. There. So yeah, euro is quite weak at the moment. So I would be careful with the euro right now. Did make a buy. So if you wanted to maybe think of a long, you could just place one at the stop there. 106.05, potentially 105.97 ish. But yeah, you've got to be careful. Dollar yen, we did fall quite heavily yesterday, but obviously, you zoom out, it doesn't look that bad. But we did break below daily pivot, and they've gone long, but now we're just sideways. So very strong. It's very, very strong. So be careful about fighting it. If you're thinking about shorting it, you'll be fighting the government bonds as well. So the big boys are pushing their yields higher or lower. So it's basically you're fighting that capital. So you do want to be checking your yields. Which is 10-year is positive. So because that's positive, that can push UJ higher. Be careful of EN. Maybe wait for a break of the round number, because you know what retail guys are like. They love their round numbers. So very successful trade so far this week, and we did manage to get out because we saw this big knee-jerk move. So we got out at 77 pips this week, so it's really good. Hopefully this one is going to be good, and hopefully we don't get another knee-jerk reaction, which would be horrible. So you could have a stop loss at 1.7070 ish. That's your super trend resistance, but because it's quite wide, have a very small size, and that's probably what you want to do, and wait for a break of the round number, because they might panic if we break the round number. You know what the retail guys are like. So that's the trade of the day. Be careful of stuff going on in the geopolitics, and that's it. So I'm going to do a Patreon video now. I've lost my thing. I don't know where it was. Yeah, and also be careful with dollar yen, because it tracks the yields, and the big boys, their big pockets, are pushing price higher or lower, and this obviously maps and corresponds to the yield. So you do want to be careful, and this has burnt me quite a bit before in the past. Many years ago, I wasn't aware of the correlation of this instrument and the US yields, and it cost me quite a lot. Anyway, so you've got to be careful, and probably wait for it to maybe even go into sell on the static for 44%. So you could wait for 50% to breach, then look for a short, and then once we made a sell, then you want to check your 10-year, and you want that negative. Okay, so I'll do a Patreon video now. Have a great day. It's nearly the weekend, so that's cool.